The stars looked different from the observation deck of the Colonial Defense Frigate Horizon. Commander Frank Hudson gazed at the unfamiliar patterns of the Epsilon Eridani system. After 3 years leading this mission to establish new outposts, he had grown used to the strange beauty of deep space. But today, something was different. The scanner had picked up unknown vessels approaching their position. "Commander, we have 5 ships of unknown origin closing in," said Lisa Ward, the ship's tactical officer. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed concern. "They're not matching any known human designs." Hudson straightened his uniform. "Open communications on all standard frequencies. Let's not jump to conclusions." For decades, humanity had expanded cautiously into nearby star systems, always wondering if they were alone. Now they had their answer. The main screen flickered to life, showing a tall, gray-skinned being with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its mouth was wide and lined with small, sharp teeth. "This is High Overseer Zolvex of the Tarjan Hegemony," the alien said, its voice translated by the ship's computer. "Your presence has been noted in territory claimed by our coalition." Hudson stepped forward. "I am Commander Frank Hudson of the Earth colony ship Horizon. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly relations." The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace is available to you, human. The Tarjan Hegemony offers simple terms. Submit to our authority, provide tribute of resources, and your species may continue to exist under our protection." The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. Hudson kept his face neutral. "High Overseer, we're not authorized to make such agreements. We request time to contact our government and—" "Delay is not acceptable," Zolvex interrupted. "We have studied your vessels. Your technology is primitive. You have no weapons that can harm our ships. The hegemony has encountered many species like yours. All serve us now." Science Officer Alan Reeves whispered to Hudson, "Sir, they've surrounded our research vessels." Hudson turned back to the screen. "High Overseer, our ships are on a peaceful mission. Please allow us to." "Your response time has ended," Zolvex stated flatly. "A demonstration is required." Before Hudson could reply, bright energy beams shot from the nearest Tarjan ship. The research vessel Nova Explorer exploded in a silent flash of light and debris. Seconds later, the sister ship Galileo met the same fate. Over 200 scientists and crew gone in an instant. "No," Hudson shouted, his composure breaking. They were unarmed. Zolvex's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Now you understand. The Tarjan Hegemony does not negotiate. We command, and others obey. Your remaining vessels will surrender immediately." Hudson looked around at his crew. Their faces showed shock and fear, but also determination. "We will not surrender," Hudson said firmly. "Earth will not bow to threats and murder." The alien's face showed no emotion. "Then you have chosen extinction." The screen went dark. Immediately, the horizon rocked as enemy weapons hit their shields. "Battle stations," Hudson ordered, and launched the emergency beacon. The ship trembled under the attack. Sparks flew from damaged systems as the crew fought to defend themselves. Communications Officer Peter Collins worked frantically at his station. "Distress signal ready." "Sir." "Send it," Hudson commanded. "Include everything we've learned about their ships and weapons." The small transmitter launched just as another hit rocked the ship. The beacon accelerated away, its fold space drive activating once it cleared the battle zone. In seconds, it vanished, racing toward Earth with its urgent message. "Shields failing, sir," Lisa Ward reported, gripping her console as the ship shuddered. "We can't take much more." Hudson looked at the tactical display. The Tarjan ships were closing in. "All hands prepare for boarding. Erase all sensitive data. They want information about Earth, and we're not giving it to them." As smoke filled the bridge and emergency lights flashed, Hudson knew their situation was dire. But the beacon was away. Earth would be warned. And unknown to the Tarjans, Humanity was not the helpless, primitive species they believed. The Horizon's engines died as a Tarjan tractor beam locked onto the ship. Commander Hudson watched as alien boarding craft approached. This battle was lost, but the war was just beginning. And far away, racing through fold space, the beacon carried its warning to a humanity that had been preparing for this day for 50 years. Admiral Diane Powell stood in the dimly lit command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The emergency beacon from the Horizon had arrived just hours ago, and already the massive underground facility was buzzing with activity. The large central screen showed the Tarjan ships attacking the human vessels, replaying the final moments before the Horizon went silent. "Play it again," Powell ordered, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. At 65, she had spent nearly 40 years preparing for this very moment. The intelligence officer, Kevin Wright, nodded and restarted the video. "We've analyzed their weapons systems, Admiral. The Tarjans appear to use a form of plasma-based technology. Powerful, but not as advanced as we feared." Powell nodded slowly. "And what's your assessment of their intentions?" "Based on their communication, they expect us to surrender without a fight," Wright replied. "They believe we are technologically inferior and unprepared for space warfare." A small smile appeared on Powell's face. "Then we have the advantage of surprise." She pressed a button on the console. "Activate Contingency Protocol Omega. Authorization Powell 97 Echo Tango." The computer system beeped in acknowledgement. Throughout the solar system, hidden facilities began to power up. In the asteroid belt, massive hangar doors opened on what appeared to be ordinary mining operations. On Mars, underground bunkers stirred to life. On Europa, beneath the ice, docking clamps released their hold on ships that had never seen battle. "How long until the Dreadnoughts are ready?" Powell asked. Chief Engineer Olivia Martinez looked up from her tablet. "The fold space drives need final calibration." 24 hours, Admiral." "You have 12, Powell replied. "The Tarjans will be planning their next move, and I want ours to happen first." Martinez nodded and hurried away, already speaking rapid commands into her communicator. Powell turned to the room of officers. "For 50 years, since the Third World War nearly destroyed us, humanity has maintained the public image of a peaceful, minimal military presence in space. Our colonies appear to be simple research and mining operations." She walked to a large map of the solar system, where dots of light now indicated the locations of hidden military installations. "But in secret, we built the most powerful fleet ever created by human hands. 20 dreadnoughts, each capable of planetary bombardment, 50 cruisers with advanced weapon systems, over 100 specialized combat vessels, all hidden, all ready." "Admiral," a young officer called out, "we're receiving new data from deep space monitoring. The Tarjan ships are moving toward our solar system. Current course suggests 20 vessels, including one significantly larger ship." Powell nodded. "They're sending what they believe is overwhelming force. Begin Phase 2 of the protocol. I want civilian evacuations from the outer colonies to begin immediately. Make it look like panic, not an organized withdrawal." "Yes, Admiral," several voices responded at once. In his corner of the command center, Defense Intelligence Officer Jack Porter studied the Tarjan communications they had intercepted. "Admiral, you should see this," he said. "The Tarjans are broadcasting what they call a herald of victory message. They're already celebrating their conquest of Earth." Powell's eyes hardened. "Let them celebrate. Send orders to Captain Ross on the Defiance. His dreadnought will lead the first wave. I want positioning coordinates for the fold space jump calculated immediately." She looked again at the dying moments of the Horizon on the screen. "And begin monitoring for any sign of survivors. Commander Hudson and his crew bought us the time we needed with their sacrifice. If any of them are alive, we're bringing them home." Throughout the solar system, soldiers and crew who had trained for years in secret now boarded the massive warships. The dreadnoughts, each nearly 2 miles long, hummed with power as their engines came online. In 12 hours, the galaxy would learn that humanity's peaceful appearance had been the greatest deception in the history of space exploration, and the Targans were sailing directly into a trap of their own making. Lisa Ward's head throbbed as she slowly regained consciousness. Cold metal pressed against her cheek. She opened her eyes to find herself lying on the floor of a small cell. The air smelled strange, too clean, with a hint of something like cinnamon. "She's awake," a familiar voice said. Lisa turned to see Peter Collins, the Horizon's communications officer, sitting against the opposite wall. His face was bruised, and dried blood crusted at the corner of his mouth. "Where are we?" she asked, pushing herself up to a sitting position. "Tarjan command ship," Peter replied. "They've been bringing crew members here for questioning. Commander Hudson was taken 3 hours ago. He hasn't returned." Lisa looked around the cell. 5 other crew members sat or lay on the floor. All showed signs of rough treatment. The cell door was a solid piece of metal with no visible handle or control panel. "What do they want from us?" she asked. Before Peter could answer, the door slid open. 2 tall Targans entered, their 4 eyes scanning the prisoners. Between them stood a smaller alien with blue-tinted skin and 6 long fingers on each hand. "This one," the blue alien said, pointing at Lisa. The commander identified her as tactical officer. The guards grabbed Lisa's arms and pulled her from the cell. She didn't resist, knowing it would be useless. They led her down a long corridor lined with similar cells. Through small windows in some doors, she saw other beings, prisoners from other species she didn't recognize. They brought her to a large room with a single chair in the center. Commander Hudson sat there, his uniform torn and face swollen. When he saw Lisa, he shook his head slightly. A tall Tarjan approached. Unlike the others, this one wore elaborate armor with glowing symbols. "I am Military Adjutant Krevnar," the alien said. "Your commander has been uncooperative. Perhaps you will be more sensible." The guards forced Lisa into the chair as Hudson was dragged to the side of the room. "Tell me about Earth's defenses," Krevnar demanded. Lisa kept her expression neutral. "We maintain minimal military presence. Our focus is on scientific exploration and peaceful colonization." The Tarjan made a clicking sound. "Lies will not help you. We have conquered 3 sectors of space. 27 species serve the hegemony now. Some resisted, like you. All submitted in the end." Krevnar touched a panel on his wrist. A holographic display appeared, showing dozens of alien worlds. These were independent worlds once. Now they provide resources and labor to the hegemony. Your Earth will join them soon. Lisa glanced at Hudson, who stood silently watching. His eyes told her to stay strong. "You humans are not unique," Krevnar continued. "Every species believes they are special until they face superior power. Tell me of your home defenses, and I will ensure your colony worlds are not destroyed completely." "There's nothing to tell," Lisa replied. "Our colonies are research stations and mining operations. Earth maintains a small defense fleet for protection against asteroids and space debris." The Tarjan leaned closer. "Your lies are pointless. Our fleet is already preparing to move against your home system. 20 of our finest warships. Far more than needed, but the High Command wishes to be thorough." Hours later, Lisa was thrown back into the cell. Peter Collins helped her to a sitting position against the wall. "What happened?" he asked quietly. "They wanted information about Earth's defenses," she whispered. "They're sending 20 ships to attack the Sol system." Peter looked around to make sure no guards were near, then leaned closer. "Listen carefully. During the power fluctuation earlier, I managed to access a terminal. I sent data back to Earth, information about their ship vulnerabilities, command structures, everything I could find." Lisa's eyes widened. "How? Their systems must be alien technology." Peter smiled slightly. "Turns out the Targans use base computer systems they've stolen from other conquered species. Some of the code was surprisingly similar to our own." Across the room, Commander Hudson was brought back to the cell. His face showed new bruises, but his eyes were alert. When the guards left, he crawled over to Lisa and Peter. "They think we're helpless," he whispered. "They have no idea what's waiting for them." For the first time since their capture, Lisa felt a spark of hope. The Tarjans were confident, arrogant in their power. They expected an easy victory. They were in for a surprise. High Commander Zolvex stood on the command platform of the Herald, the largest ship in the Tarjan fleet. Around him, crew members worked at their stations, preparing the special broadcast that would soon reach every corner of known space. This was his favorite part of conquest, the moment when a new species learned their true place in the galaxy. "Is the transmission ready?" he asked, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Yes, High Commander," replied the communications officer. "All channels prepared. We can broadcast to the entire human system." Zolvex nodded with satisfaction. "Begin." Across the 20 Tarjan ships now approaching the edge of the Sol system, crews paused their work to watch. This ritual had been performed many times before. The Herald itself had been built specifically for these moments of triumph. The High Commander faced the recording devices, people of Earth and human colonies. "I am High Commander Zolvex of the Tarjan hegemony. Your outer defense vessels have been destroyed or captured. Your distant colonies now belong to us. The hegemony's fleet approaches your home system with unstoppable force." He paused, enjoying the moment. Behind him stood representatives from all 5 species that made up the hegemony, each one once independent until they faced Tarjan might. "Your surrender is not requested. It is expected. The terms are simple. Earth will provide resources as demanded. 20% of your population will be relocated to labor centers. The rest may continue their lives under hegemony protection." In another part of the massive Herald ship, Diplomatic Overseer Dreadnoughts reviewed the formal surrender documents. Each new conquest required specific details about resource extraction and population management. Humans would be the 28th species to sign these papers. "Have we calculated their mineral capacity?" Dreadnoughts asked in aid. "Yes, Overseer. Their system contains significant iron, titanium, and rare earth elements. Their homeworld appears particularly rich in biological diversity, which will benefit our medical research." Dreadnoughts added these details to the document. "And their military assessment?" "Minimal threat," the aide replied. "Their outer colony defense ships were easily overcome. We detect no significant defense grid around their inner planets. They appear to have focused on science and commerce rather than warfare." "How disappointing," Dreadnoughts said with a sound like dry laughter. "I had hoped for at least some challenge this time." On the bridge of the lead warship, Fleet Commander Dravkan directed the formation of the Tarjan vessels. His ship sensors showed human vessels fleeing from Jupiter's moons and Mars colonies, civilian ships with no weapons racing toward Earth in panic. "Maintain standard conquest formation," he ordered. "No need for defensive positioning. Target their largest orbital stations first, then their planetary defense systems, if they have any." "Yes, Commander," his officers responded. Dravkan had led conquest fleets against 7 other species during his career. This would be his 8th victory. Already he was thinking about the ceremony where another banner would be added to his collection, a blue and green symbol representing conquered Earth. Back on the Herald, High Commander Zolvex concluded his victory announcement. "Resistance will result in planetary bombardment. Cooperation will be rewarded with survival. You have 6 Earth hours to prepare your leaders for formal surrender proceedings. The hegemony is generous to those who accept their place." As the transmission ended, cheers erupted across the Tarjan fleet. Victory celebrations began early, with ceremonial drinks passed among officers. On the Herald, dignitaries from all hegemony worlds gathered in the Grand Hall to witness what would soon be a historic moment. Another species added to their growing empire. Sensor report, called a junior officer on the command deck. No significant military response detected in the human system. Their orbital stations are being evacuated. Zolvex nodded with satisfaction. "As expected. Prepare the landing ships. I want our flags on their planet within 12 hours. No one on any Tarsian ship noticed the slight distortions in space near Jupiter's orbit, places where the stars seemed to bend just a little, as if something was watching and waiting. Fleet Commander Dravkan smiled as his fleet moved deeper into the Sol system. The human ships they encountered were all fleeing, small, unarmed vessels packed with civilians. No military response had appeared, just as expected. "Status report," he ordered. "All ships in standard conquest formation, Commander," replied his second officer. "We've detected no defensive systems or military vessels. Their orbital stations around Mars are being evacuated. Earth appears to be in panic." Dravkan nodded with satisfaction. "Send word to the Herald. Tell High Commander Zolvex that our victory is proceeding as planned." On the bridge of the Herald, celebrations had already begun. Representatives from all 5 hegemony species gathered to watch the conquest unfold. The massive ship followed behind the main battle group, ready to broadcast Earth's surrender across Tarsian space. "The humans have only 4 hours left to prepare their surrender," High Commander Zolvex announced to the gathered dignitaries. "Our scouts report their leaders are in emergency meetings. They know resistance is pointless." Diplomatic Overseer Trenlox raised a glass of blue liquid. "To another successful conquest, the 28th species to join our glorious hegemony." The dignitaries cheered, their various alien voices creating a strange harmony. None noticed the small light blinking on a control panel nearby, a warning about unusual energy readings near Jupiter. A junior officer finally spotted it. She approached Zalvex cautiously. "High Commander, our sensors are detecting strange energy patterns near the gas giant. Probably mining operations shutting down," Zolvex dismissed without looking. "Continue the celebration." Near Jupiter's orbit, space itself began to ripple. Small distortions appeared, like heat waves over desert sand. Then suddenly, a massive tear opened in the fabric of space. Through this impossible hole emerged the U.S. Defiance, a human dreadnought nearly 3 times larger than the biggest Tarsian vessel. Captain Nathan Ross stood on the command deck, his face grim but determined. "Stealth systems disengage. All weapons online. Confirm positions of other dreadnoughts." His tactical officer, Lieutenant Sharon Garcia, responded instantly. "Confirmation received, Captain. 5 dreadnoughts emerging near Mars orbit. 8 more appearing at coordinates near Saturn. All reporting full combat readiness." Ross nodded. "Open communication channels to all Tarsian vessels." On the Tarsian fleet's command ship, alarms suddenly blared. "Commander," shouted a panicked officer. "Massive ships appearing throughout the system. They're everywhere." Dravkan rushed to the view screen. His mandibles clicked rapidly in shock as he saw the enormous human vessel that had appeared seemingly from nowhere. Impossible. How did they hide such ships? Before he could issue orders, every communication system across the Tarsian fleet activated simultaneously. A human woman's voice, calm and commanding, spoke in perfect Tarsian language. "This is Admiral Diane Powell of the Earth Defense Fleet. We have received your terms of surrender and find them unacceptable. We present counterterms. Withdraw immediately from human space, return all prisoners, and prepare for diplomatic relations conducted as equals, or be destroyed." On the Herald, the celebration stopped instantly. The view screen showed impossible sights, massive human warships appearing throughout the system, each bristling with weapons more advanced than anything in the Tarsian arsenal. "This cannot be," High Commander Zolvex shouted. "Their technology was primitive. We saw their colony ships." A tactical officer's voice shook as he reported, "High Commander, we're detecting energy readings from the human vessels. Their weapon systems they're beyond anything in our database. One ship alone has enough firepower to destroy our entire fleet." Zolvex stared at the screen in disbelief. The human dreadnoughts were moving into position, surrounding the Tarsian fleet with methodical precision. "All ships," he shouted into the communication system. "Battle formation. Prepare tow." Captain Ross's voice cut through the channel. Your conquest formation is designed for intimidation, not defense, Commander. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapon systems. Then we will discuss the return of our people. For the first time in his life, High Commander Zolvex felt fear. The hunters had become the hunted, and the prey they had cornered was actually a predator far more dangerous than they could have imagined. They're not powering down their weapons, Lieutenant Sharon Garcia reported on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance. Captain Nathan Ross nodded grimly. I didn't think they would. He pressed a button on his command chair. All Dreadnoughts, execute Battle Plan Delta. Disable their command ships but avoid complete destruction if possible. We want prisoners, not corpses. Across the solar system, the human Dreadnoughts moved with surprising speed for such massive vessels. Their hulls gleamed in the distant sunlight, dark metal absorbing radar and scanner signals. Each ship carried enough firepower to level continents, yet they moved with surgical precision. On the Tarjan command ship, Fleet Commander Drav Khan shouted orders in a panic. Fire all weapons. Target the closest human vessel. Tarjan energy weapons lashed out, striking the hull of the Defiance. The massive dreadnought didn't even shudder. No effect, sir, reported a stunned Tarjan weapons officer. Their shields absorbed everything we fired. Drav Khan slammed his fist on the command console. Impossible. Increase power. Before they could fire again, the Defiance responded. A thin beam of blue light shot from one of its smaller turrets. It touched the Tarjan ship's main weapons array, which immediately went dark. Weapons offline, cried the Tarjan officer. They cut through our shields like they weren't even there. Throughout the solar system, similar scenes unfolded. The human dreadnoughts targeted weapon systems and engines with perfect accuracy, disabling the Tarjan warships without destroying them. Near Mars orbit, Lieutenant Commander Gregory Patel directed his squadron of 5 dreadnoughts. Focus on the Herald, he ordered. Admiral Powell wants that ship intact. Disable its engines and communications, but be careful. The massive human ships surrounded the Herald, which was frantically trying to retreat. Precision beams cut through its propulsion systems, leaving the grand vessel drifting helplessly in space. On the Herald's bridge, High Commander Zolvex watched in horror as his mighty conquest fleet was systematically disabled. Ship after ship reported weapons failures, engine shutdowns, and shield collapses. How? He demanded of no one in particular. How could they hide such technology? Such ships? Diplomatic Overseer Trenlox backed away from the view screen, his skin turning pale. They deceived us. They showed us only what they wanted us to see. High Commander, the communications officer called out, voice shaking. We're receiving transmission requests from every human vessel. They're demanding to speak with you directly. Zolvex hesitated, then nodded. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Diane Powell's face. Her expression was calm but stern. High Commander, she said, your fleet has been neutralized. 17 of your ships are disabled. Only the Herald and 2 smaller vessels remain capable of movement, and we have those surrounded. This is impossible, Zolvex replied, trying to maintain his dignity. Humans are a young species. Your technology was assessed as primitive. Powell allowed herself a small smile. A deliberate deception, Commander. For 50 years, we showed the galaxy only what we wanted it to see. Our science vessels and colonies were real, but they were only part of the truth. At that moment, an aide rushed to Zolvex. Commander, we're receiving transmissions from the conquered worlds in the hegemony. They're rising against our forces. They've seen the battle. Zolvex's 4 eyes widened in shock. You broadcast our defeat. Of course, Powell replied, just as you planned to broadcast our surrender. The difference is, we're offering terms. Power down your remaining weapons, prepare to receive boarding parties, and release all human prisoners immediately. On the prison deck of the Tarjan command ship, Lisa Ward and the other survivors from the horizon felt the vessel shudder as its engines died. The lights flickered, Then emergency systems activated. "What's happening?" one of the crew asked. Commander Frank Hudson smiled for the first time since their capture. "That, my friends, is the sound of humanity arriving." The cell door suddenly slid open. Instead of Tarjan guards, human soldiers in advanced battle armor stood in the corridor. "Commander Hudson," the lead soldier called. "Captain Ross sends his compliments and apologizes for the delay in your extraction." Hudson helped Lisa to her feet. "Right on time, actually. Let's go home." 1 week after the battle, the grand meeting hall aboard the U.S. Defiance hummed with tension. On one side of the long table sat Admiral Diane Powell, Captain Nathan Ross, and the recently rescued Lisa Ward. Opposite them sat High Commander Zolvex, Diplomatic Overseer Dreadnoughts, and 3 other Tarjan officials. "Let's be clear about what happened," Admiral Powell said, her voice firm but not unkind. "Your fleet attacked our research vessels without provocation. You destroyed 2 ships with over 200 civilians aboard. You took prisoners and tortured them for information." Zolvex's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of discomfort in his species. "This is how conquest has always worked. The strong rule the weak. It is the way of the galaxy." Powell shook her head. "Not our galaxy. Not anymore." She nodded to Lisa Ward, who activated a holographic display. It showed recordings of 27 separate attempts at peaceful communication that the Horizon had made before the Tarsians opened fire. "We tried peace first," Powell said. "We always do. But humanity learned a harsh lesson from our own history." The hologram changed to show images from Earth's past conflicts. World wars, regional battles, the devastation that humans had once inflicted upon themselves. "For centuries, we fought each other," Powell continued. "We nearly destroyed ourselves. When we finally united and looked to the stars, we hoped to find friends, but we prepared to meet enemies." Captain Ross spoke next. "Every colony ship we sent out carried scientific equipment and peaceful settlers. But for every vessel you saw, we built a warship you didn't see. For every research station, a hidden military base." Dreadnoughts leaned forward. "But how did you hide such massive ships? Our scouts found no trace of your military power." Lisa Ward smiled slightly. "The fold space technology you witnessed doesn't just allow rapid travel. It creates pocket dimensions where our fleet could remain hidden until needed. Your sensors couldn't detect what wasn't in normal space." Powell stood and walked to a view screen showing Earth. "Humanity united after nearly destroying itself. We value peace, but we never mistake peace for weakness. The Dreadnoughts weren't built for conquest. They were built so that we would never be conquered." Across the galaxy, the impact of the Tarjan defeat spread rapidly. On 27 worlds previously subjugated by the hegemony, resistance movements rose up. The knowledge that the mighty Tarjan fleet had been defeated by a supposedly weaker species gave them hope and courage. Within the hegemony itself, the other 4-member species began questioning Tarjan leadership. The carefully constructed empire began to fracture as its foundation of fear crumbled. Back on the Defiance, Admiral Powell offered new terms to the Tarjan leaders. "Here is our proposal," she said, sliding a data tablet across the table. "The immediate release of all conquered worlds. The establishment of a new galactic council where all species have equal representation, and a guarantee that no civilization will ever again face unprovoked aggression." "And if we refuse?" Zolvex asked, though without much conviction. Captain Ross gestured to the view screen, which showed the 20 human dreadnoughts surrounding what remained of the Tarjan fleet. "Then you return home without your ships to explain your failure." 3 months later, on Earth, Peter Collins stood before the newly formed Interstellar Diplomatic Corps. Once a communications officer on the Horizon, he now led humanity's efforts to build genuine alliances with other species. "The galaxy is changing," he told the assembly of human and alien representatives. "For too long, the Tarjan hegemony ruled through fear and force. Today, we begin a new chapter based on cooperation and mutual respect." Among the audience sat Commander Frank Hudson and Lisa Ward, both wearing new uniforms with the emblem of the Earth Defense Fleet. "Do you think it will work?" Lisa whispered to Hudson. "Real peace." Hudson watched as representatives from former hegemony worlds signed the new alliance treaty. "It has to," he replied. "But just in case, the Dreadnoughts remain." High above Earth, the massive warships orbited silently, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a hard-won peace. Throughout the galaxy, the story spread of how humans had deceived an empire and changed the course of galactic history. The species that had once been dismissed as primitive had proven to be the most dangerous kind of adversary, one that learned from its mistakes and prepared for the worst while hoping for the best.